Friends, thank you. This means a lot. Been looking forward to this one. We're talking happiness and fulfillment, and that can go many different ways. But everybody has a red light on their camera in front of them. That's red.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is red. We're grooving.
We're good.
We are recording. We are good to go. So I'm going to ask you right off the bat, like, what does the word happiness mean to you? And it doesn't even have to be specific to you, but if someone says, put you on the spot, what does happiness mean to you? What's your first guttural reaction? Like, who is this weirdo asking me deep questions?
I know. How dare you? It's just an emotion.
Okay.
Just.
No.
Yeah, it's an emotion, I think.
I
So it's not a state?
No.
I think I
Well,
I
it could
think
be.
it's a
I mean,
state.
it's not a state of being, but I mean, it's fleeting, so it's not.
Ooh, yeah, it is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree.
Okay.
It
disagree.
definitely is. It definitely is an emotion. You feel happiness, right?
Yeah, but what is happiness?
I mean, this is up to your
Like,
own perspective.
Right. Like, I look at happiness to me as freedom.
Okay.
Like I'm free.
Yeah.
So that's happiness to me. Like I don't. It's not fleeting to me because I live pretty free. So that's why I'm pretty much always an optimist, and that's how I've always looked at it. So it's not necessarily an emotion. There's joy is an emotion to me. Happiness is a state. That's how I look at it.
Well, like a feeling. Happiness is a feeling.
Yeah, happiness is something I'm 99.9% of the time in that state. Joy is an emotion that can be elated or not, is how I look at it. But it takes a long time to get there, I feel like.
So before we did this today, I was thinking that you were going to say that you were happy all the time.
Okay.
Because you seem to be.
Yeah, I mean, I am.
I figured you were going to say that you're happy the majority of the time. Which is, I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of work to get here, a lot of work on myself, a lot of work in just life. But to me, freedom was always happiness. And I've got that point in my life where I feel like I'm free. Where I work for myself, I have a great team of people around me, I get to do what I want when I want. And I feel overwhelmed at times, but I don't feel stress.
But is happiness fulfillment? Are you fulfilled because of all those things?
Oh, fuck yeah, I love what I do.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I always want more. Like I always say, I'm blissfully dissatisfied, but I'm completely fulfilled. At least I think I am. I mean, I feel like I am. So
there's nothing more for you.
Oh,
is
there's
what
plenty
you're
more
saying.
for me. Absolutely.
Well, listen to fulfillment. It seems so like absolute and definitive, right?
Well, I think
you're fulfilled. This is the end.
No, I mean you're fulfilled in the moment.
Some people look at it
Right?
like that for sure.
But being 15-year-old, you're fulfilled a certain way. Being 20, it's different. 45, I'm 45 now, so fulfillment for me is different. It changes all the time.
And happiness is the same.
I disagree. I think happiness is a state you stay in. You stay in or out. Fulfillment is, okay, is there more? Once I get to a certain level, do I look at life like there's more I can do now? I figured out some shit. Now I see more shit I can do. So that's kind of that's how I view my life. It's a game. It's like, okay, I get past this level. Okay, I'm fulfilled here. But okay, now I see the playing field got wider. I can see more that I can do and more things that could fulfill me even more. Okay,
so what I'm hearing from you, and you can correct me, is that like your, we'll call it a chase maybe of the next, then the next.
Sure.
You find fulfillment in this, which is like happiness in this.
Sure.
Right? So you're finding it even in the mundane rather than the large picture that you're saying as well, right? Is that where we find happiness? Is it in the pursuit? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Find it.
Yeah, I love the pursuit of it. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So when you're fulfilled, does that end?
No, I don't think so. Because again, I think fulfillment is something that evolves, right? I'm fulfilled today, but tomorrow I have more capacity. I could be more fulfilled, and that changes, right? Like what I like today, I may not like 10 years from now.
Sure.
So that fulfillment can change. But to me, being fulfilled means I'm satisfied. I'm content, but I always look like I can do more and I want more. And I'm chasing the next thing. I'm trying to improve myself constantly, trying to improve everything I'm doing constantly and consistently.
So would you rather be happy or fulfilled if you had to pick one?
How do you take them apart?
Yeah, I don't know how you take those apart. I guess you can. How do you do that?
You could be fulfilled without being happy. and you can be happy without being fulfilled, for sure, because like a lot of people were chasing happiness. If I, made more money, I would be happy.
Yes.
If I had this
But
relationship,
that's their definition
I would
of happiness,
I would
right?
be right. I would be happy. I'm going to take this drug because it's going to make my problems go away, and then I'm going to be happy.
Wait, they make that?
for that fleeting moment.
They make one of those?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sure they
tons of
do.
them.
I'm going to get drunk, and then I'm going to forget, and I'm going to be happy in that moment. So a lot of people are chasing that fleeting, that feeling of happy. So you could be happy, in moments, and then not really be fulfilled in life because you're just chasing happiness.
It's the chase. The
Sure.
chase.
Well, yeah. Look,
But haven't you ever gotten disappointed in an outcome and you're like, that was bad? Labeling it as that, when if you let things unfold, sometimes that bad, tends to like do an about face almost. And it's like, actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I mean,
I got my ass kicked,
yeah.
but like, yay, look at me now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you learn from that. I mean, that's how you learn.
Well, some people don't do this.
Well, true. I mean, I was just talking about myself.
I know.
I think I feel like I'm on the hot seat now. Like, I'm not sure what's happening. I feel like I should just leave and let the three of you talk. I'm done for the day.
No, have some of this
You're on
water.
No, listen.
You're on the couch, pal.
All I'm saying is yes, there are people there that chase happiness because to me, happiness is the journey. Like the cliche saying is true in my mind. Like I love the fact that I get to do what I do every day. It took a long time to get here, and there were moments of definitely in the past where I've been unhappy, but
Right.
I've broken through that level, doing a lot of work on myself and just professionally and personally to just be very happy every single day with what I get to do. It's the journey that makes me happy. Like I always say, the goals and the things are just the byproduct.
Right. Well,
That's
being
just
happy is a choice too.
True,
You make.
absolutely, 100%.
Because you can choose like. I spent like 10 years of my life in this bad like custody situation. I was super unhappy. I was miserable.
Yeah.
My child just turned 18 on Friday, so I was
Okay.
like, oh, thank you, Jesus. but I realized like a couple, it was, and it didn't feel as good as I thought it would feel. But
Sure.
because I realized a couple years ago, like you're the idiot being unhappy. You chose
Yeah.
to be unhappy. You could have chosen to see something better or not to be unhappy. Someone can't make me unhappy or happy.
Right,
I have to
exactly.
choose to react
100%.
in a certain way, so
that
finally
came-
I literally looked in the mirror at myself. Like
You said it.
and it
Yeah.
wasn't that cliche look in the mirror. I literally was in the bathroom staring at myself in the mirror, and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you're bringing yourself down? This isn't
So-
someone else." And like you said, working on yourself. Like I read a ton of books, and I read this book called Reinventing Yourself, and
Okay.
so I started reading all these different things about it, and I was like, you can wake up every day and be happy, or you can be miserable.
Yeah,
So stop.
exactly.
Smack yourself in the face and
yes.
cut the shit out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You have to have that balance of like, sometimes like really getting rocked to get you to even like wake up to what's going on and then to start making moves. That's the hard part, is like, how do I make moves to even change this? Because how did you get there, right? It was just like the same thing over. Like there's that insanity
I think people
thing.
were telling me stuff. People were like telling me over and over the same. People were telling me the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And one day I decided to listen.
Yeah.
One day I was like, okay, all this stuff's like flying at me.
Yeah.
One day I just let it in, listened, and was like, oh my god, like you're the problem.
Hindsight's always clearer, right? I mean, like I look back at the time that I spent through a tough divorce and woe is me, and I couldn't admit at that time that I was a woe is me person, but obviously look back and like, oh man, I wasted time. But it's so hard to find that clarity when you're in the muck. It's so hard.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's so
Yeah.
hard.
You got to be
You-
willing to do it.
Right.
You have to go through the muck.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
100%. I agree. Everybody has to go through shit in their life.
Yeah.
100%. But I think what has helped me, like that book by Jack Canfield, I've talked about it, The Success Principles. I
Principles,
read
yeah.
it in my 20s,
It's a good
and
one.
that E plus R equals O, like that stuck with me since my 20s, and that's how I operate. The event plus a reaction equals the outcome. It says you can always control the outcome in anything because you can always control one of the variables, either the event or how you react to it. So I just always chose to react a different way. And am I perfect? No. Like, there are moments where I would lose my shit, but 90% of the time, like, I think I choose the right reaction. So you choose to be happy. Like, I can choose to learn from it.
Because you're in control of it.
Exactly. Because I've taken control. So I can be really pissed and very stressed. Like, even today, like, I came in, I was like wound up because there was like so much shit going on in the office. But I'm like, I wanted this. Like, I chose this. This is the life I wanted. I love it. Like, I feel thankful for it, but still get overwhelmed. But I could have chosen to be like miserable and stressed because I have a negotiation all day tomorrow. But no, like, I just choose differently. I think everybody has the power. You just got to be willing to take the power from yourself.
Right. I remember this advice that I got that really changed my outlook. And I had a friend, and someone said something really rude to him, and I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry." He said, "Why? Why are you sorry?" I'm like, "Didn't that hurt your feelings?"
Yeah.
No, it didn't hurt my feelings. I'm like, "Oh, wow, why?" And he said, "Because I'm choosing not to let it hurt my feelings."
So powerful.
And I was like, "Oh my!" And that's literally what it literally stopped me dead in my tracks. And I was like, "Wait a minute, like, you're choosing to let this asshole ruin your life. Literally, that's a choice. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever done." So, literally looking in the mirror. Okay, I'm gonna control the outcome.
Yeah, that's it.
I can make the choice.
Boy, you should be able to teach that in high school, huh?
Yeah, like emotional intelligence.
Yeah, if you could teach that to kids early, and maybe a handful of them will actually get it. I mean,
that's why people have outbursts, right? If you think about it, this is kids, this is like adults, and you've seen
I had one this afternoon.
Aw, bless your heart.
I had one this afternoon.
So, but there's an emotional intelligence surrounding that, is choosing to respond, like you were talking about, Rocco. So, happiness is, this is a choice, but we have to like emotionally accept what happiness is.
Yes.
And it, like, have you read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is exactly what he talks about,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he talks about like the shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And how much can you deal with, right, to get to wherever you're going, I guess.
Yeah.
And also like letting go.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yes.
Yeah, because like you don't actually know the outcome, which you touched on, but you can control your emotions towards that, which are given.
Yep.
And then like, I don't know, pivot someplace else, or just like cry a little. Like, don't deny like any of the,
like you're feeling like shit.
Yeah, because then you're not being authentic to yourself.
right,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And like when kids do this, right? Like, have your kids just had like a complete meltdown out of like a Kinder surprise
Not my
egg?
kids,
Or
never.
do you know what I'm saying?
No,
So
yes, my
like
kids have
you
many times.
literally have to like say what how can we resolve this?
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But like, look at what's happening around you and take 2 seconds and then breathe. And then like, let's come up with something else, right?
I'm trying to teach my daughter that right now because she has like bad anxiety, and I feel like kids now that anxiety is like the thing.
Yeah,
like
it is.
all kids now
It
have
is.
anxiety,
Yeah.
and they blame all their problems on anxiety. Not that anxiety is not real,
Right.
because it definitely is.
Sure.
But it's easy to say, oh, that's my anxiety.
Yeah.
But I was trying to teach my daughter about worry, and worrying isn't going to change the outcome whatsoever. And
Say
like you
that
said,
all the
letting
time.
go. It's
Right.
you have to feel in control. If I worry so much that I'm going to control this situation, I can control it by worrying about the outcome and trying to like will the outcome. But
Yeah.
I wish I would have been exposed to Stoicism when I was younger. The reason I wasn't was because I was raised in a Catholic family, and I was certainly not part of the Catholicism I was given. But man, if I could have internalized Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, or I understood the tenets of Stoicism when I was in my teens, I mean, I really could have changed my life.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like just really dealing with reality. Like we always seem to, especially when you're young, I think, you're always thinking about what is ahead, what could happen, what might happen, or what you actually even think you're so intelligent. Did you know what's coming down the pike? I know if I do this, this is going to happen to me. That's very youthful thinking, I think, which is understandable. But then we take that into adulthood if it's not corrected. And I definitely suffered from that. And I think Stoicism is something that would rub up against that, but never.
Well, I think, too, to your point about anxiety, I think it's just kids need to learn to be problem solvers. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Martian. It's the one where Matt Damon gets stuck on Mars.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, I love this movie. But there's at the end of the movie, he says something very powerful that people miss. He's back from Mars and he's teaching this class, and he's talking about his experience. Like, he got stuck there. He's like, I could have worried and been anxious. He's like, but then I had to realize it's just math. Just solve the first problem, and then the next one. And like, if you approach life that way, like, and just looking, okay, you can choose to be anxious and worry. Or you can say, what is the problem and how do I solve it? And kids aren't taught like, I try and teach my kids, like, you have to solve problems. Like, that's how you'll be successful in life. Anybody that's extremely successful in life, they just got really good at solving problems that other people can't figure out. That's it. And if you approach life that way, from the small to the large, it gets really easy. Because you just look at it, okay, it's just a problem I have to solve. That's really it. And I think anxiety, people use that, especially kids, as this cover because they don't want to admit they don't know how to solve the problem or ask for help to solve the problem. Where if we were teaching kids that it's okay to ask for help, and two, problem solving is a skill set you have to learn and develop, I think there'd be a lot less kids running around saying they're anxious.
Well, the only
worried.
problem solving we technically get at the high school level grades was mathematics.
Yeah,
and once you leave math,
or like science too.
Yeah,
I
kind of put those
science.
together. Kind of conflate those together. But you're right. But I mean, other aspects of problem solving in life, there's no really no life skills classes in high school.
Well, they had like home ec and like CAD. That's what they called them. That's what they called them.
I'm aware. Trust me.
Yeah.
Did you take CAD?
I took a very elemental version of CAD in like 1980.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
We had a class called Adult Roles and Functions. We learned how to write
My
checks.
daughter had that.
Write checks, sew buttons, and cook.
Yeah.
And
My
we just
daughter
fucked
had
around
that.
all class. That's all we did.
Well, think about how many people were actually.
That's all we did. I mean, we just screwed around.
How many parents actually teach their kids this, though? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have two kick-ass kids. You know, they're responsible. They're good humans. They're driven. They're successful. They work super hard.
Yeah.
That's because I taught them that.
Yep.
But how many parents are actually teaching their kids, recognizing that they need to teach their kids that, those skills?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think there's a lot of indirect teaching going on in some households where the parent's anxiety ends up getting indirectly taught right to the child.
Oh,
and then
for sure.
they put up with the anxiety issues.
For sure.
And they don't even understand why, I think, in some instances.
That's exactly right.
It's a shame. I mean, I'm not trying to create excuses, but I think that's an actual fact. I think it happens a lot.
I agree.
Well, I mean, our systems, like in general, don't allow us to learn the way that we're programmed to learn. They want you to learn a certain type of way to then become a worker in the workforce, and then you work for a million years, and then maybe you can retire. Like, that's just what the systems are. Let's be honest. Look at every single one of them.
Yeah, it doesn't encourage entrepreneurship at all. That's
Not
for
at
sure.
all.
That's why the school system was created, to create factory workers.
Right.
It's exactly why it was created.
But we don't live this way anymore. So, like, the Montessoris are very good at, like, a young age just to, like, explore, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and then there's other alternatives these days. Like, my daughter was in an environmental charter school kind of thing where we had to like bid through the system, and then it was a lottery, and then like you would get a spot. So she did get one at Dilworth, which is like over towards the East End. And they were all arts based.
Did she like it?
So she loves it. She's very artistic in her own special way. So we fostered that immediately through Montessori. They did it to teach her different things like how to build or do math or whatever, but they use it in an artistic way, colors and things like this, this. So this elementary school did the same type of thing, and their teachers were super cool because they all could like sing or dance or play musical instruments. And your morning meeting, they would call it, would be like a song, and it would be like from the 70s sometimes, and everybody was singing it or somebody was playing it, and it was just so fun. And this is during COVID, when like we were home and we could see what our kids were doing all day, and I was like, oh my god, I actually love, and I would say this to her, I'm like, Aviana, I love watching you learn. Oh my god, this is
awesome.
so cool. So I just thought like, oh my gosh, like even this public school system, even though we had to bid into it and they wear uniforms and everything, even though it's a part of the system, I was like, wow, they're like kind of doing something different to foster these kids. And then what they tend to do is they'll like move you on and you want to go to Kappa. You know, that art school downtown. So that's like an elementary school that would lead you to the high school. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then
Interesting.
Kappa. So so there are changes happening within that system, which is like promising, but it still puts you in a system,
it's
even
the
though
parents' role. It's our role as parents to change the next generation. We have to. I mean, we can't. The school's not going to do
the system.
it. Yeah, we do. Like I've been teaching my kids about entrepreneurship. Like when my son was 8 years old, I'd bring them my rental properties and like shitty rental properties and be like, "Hey, dude, if you don't get your shit together, you're gonna be living in one of these someday." And made him like help paint and like do stuff just to see like
But
That's harsh.
But I mean,
I'm down.
He's doing great in college. He's going to law school, so he's
nice.
You know, and with my daughters, like, you know, they started like they were doing businesses when they were little. My oldest daughter, who's 13, she teaches dance now, so I'm encouraging them to work and to you know to build it yourself, like do it for yourself, and just trying to instill good values and work ethic in kids, because schools it's not like there's a point to it to educate them, but the system doesn't foster entrepreneurship or independence.
Well, it's a system.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they're just in a system.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Or hard work too. I've always told Lily and Emma too. I'm like, nothing bad is going to happen to you if you work hard. And said, and conversely, nothing good is going to happen to you if you're lazy.
Right.
I mean, it's I mean, I just said it to her again, and she's such a hard worker. Like,
it's the truth.
Both my kids hustle. I mean, they see their mom, they like, you know, emulating their parents. They see their mom hustling, they're doing the same.
That's it, and that is the truest statement. I
watched my own mom do that. You know, my mom was a single mom. I watched that woman put a radiator in her Honda Civic. Like, no shit. Like, I mean,
strong.
I've built my own deck. I mean, there's nothing I can't fix in that house. You know, so if it needs fixed, I'm gonna try to fix it first. So you know, they've you know, my older daughter, you know, she's hanging the television. She's got, you know, hanging the, you know, mounting brackets. She's got the drill and the level and the, you know, and her husband's like, you know.
Oh my gosh.
But
sorry.
Sorry, Sam. But
sorry, Sam.
Sam.
Yeah. So
it's the truth. I mean, it really is. I mean,
independence, like teaching your kids. There is no better like skill than being independent.
100%.
And not because when you're not independent, you're making decisions that you think you have to, not that you want to.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
And I don't want my kids. I don't want my girls.
We do that all the time, whether we know it or not.
I've done
like,
it.
We make choices all the time because like our parents wanted X, Y, and Z, and we just learned that. So we do it all the time without even knowing it. That's not our fault. We just have to like know that we're doing it if we can.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
like be like, hold on, time out. Right. I'm choosing for me.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
I think too, we have to choose to be happy, but in addition to that, you know, I always tried to buy into the idea, not always successful at it, but tried to buy into the idea to design my own life. Because if I wait around for someone else to show up to turn me on, they might not show up, right? Yeah. Or they might show up with ideas that are not what I want to do, or not much. But I also think too, and I can't say I was great at this, but it's an idea. I think you can also study happiness. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to emulate all kinds of specific people, but I think you can study what other people appear to live fulfilling lives and things that they enjoy, and study how they do things, and try to gain knowledge from other people's successes. And I think whether it's a specific study of happiness, but in general and roundabout, successful people generally are rather happy-go-lucky people because it's working out for them.
It's funny you say that because when I was a kid, like we've talked about childhoods and stuff like that in the past, but I feel like my sisters and I were raised by wolves. So
feral.
Yeah. So like I was the oldest, you know, so I basically like helped raise my sisters, even though we're super close in age. So I didn't have those role models to look up to, you know, to make the right decisions. And like you said, I would actually study people who I thought were doing it the right, you know, or people that I wanted to be or to be like, or, you know, so those were my examples. Like, and it could have been a teacher or a friend's parent, but it certainly wasn't my own parents. But sorry, Mom. But
Mom.
it's all good now. It's all good.
It's all good now.
but yeah, I would study people, and study how they got to where they got, and how they acted and their demeanor.
Well, your kids are studying you.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, didn't we
That's it.
study our own parents even if we weren't even cognizant of it? We were studying them.
Oh yeah, I studied mine, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing
Still
that. I'm not
study
doing
mine.
that.
I still study mine all the time.
Yeah.
I think it also comes to like, so you were talking about emulating people, and like maybe it's their core values that you're trying to emulate. So you distinguish those through these people that,
For sure.
you know what I mean?
That's so true.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, well, I like someone that's like really humble. I want to be
for
like
sure,
that.
for
you
sure.
know?
Yeah.
Or like what's likable, or like
I always thought the humblest people were like the humblest people in my life growing up. Generally, when I looked at them, they were generally outwardly kind of happy.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Regardless of wealth or lack thereof or possessions or any of that stuff, they were kind of like, they were happy. They weren't in the muck.
yeah, it's like simple.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
go through phases in your life, like when you were young, and you're like, if I just had a Porsche, I would be happy.
I say that now.
That's true.
And I don't not mean that.
But like as you when you're young, I remember being young and being married at a young age and like having to keep up with the Joneses and I had to have this and I had to have that, and I thought all those things would make me happy. Now, obviously they don't,
Well, listen, if you have the means to do that, I'm not a hater in any kind
for
of
sure,
way,
Yeah, right.
for sure.
I'm just like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like give it up, right? Because it's there for its beauty or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, uh-huh.
But like you can't assign that as like your fulfilling happiness if we're going to bring it.
Try to put like a happiness value on
Yeah,
it. Right?
if I had, or
Yeah.
like, let me
Right.
get this
Oh, yeah.
job and then I'll, it's just like, you can't find it in the goal. You find it going through. So
Yeah.
like
The journey,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, it's like these little moments in time,
Yeah.
and then finding peace, right, within that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but that's your choice to do that too,
I agree. I always look at like when I was a young lawyer, I focused on I wanted to make a shit ton of money and do all this stuff, and then once I went out on my own, left corporate America, like I worked with Mike, my business coach, and he's the one that got me to say stop looking at the money and just focus on becoming better. And the moment I stopped looking at, because I left corporate America, walked away, 0 paycheck, and said I'm going to do this myself. And I said, okay, shit, I got to make X amount per month to support my family. I was always like plus or minus a little bit because I was so focused on the dollars. He told me, he says, just get better. Just focus on being the best fucking lawyer you can be. The moment I did that, within 3 months, my revenue tripled.
Of course.
Because I got to become a different person. So I never look at money or any material things as the goal. I'm always moving that number of like how much we want to make as a firm or how much we want to do, because it's who I get to become in pursuit of that. Like that's what I look at. Like I get to become a different person. Like I know to run the firm I run now, to get to where we want to go in 10 years, to be $100 million law firm, I have to become a totally different person.
100%.
To be that, to be that guy that can run that firm. I'm not him right now. So to me, like that's what I love. Like it's that journey and that process of becoming a different person and evolving and learning new things about yourself. That's how, so I look at money and the number as more of just the means to become the person I'm supposed to be.
Interesting.
As opposed to achieving the actual goal itself.
I've talked to a lot of people because I'm up there in age a little bit, but I've talked to a lot of people that I grew up with over the last 4 or 5 years. I've kind of like reacquainted myself with a lot of folks, and I've just heard story after story after story where a lot of these folks, and they express that they feel they've wasted too many of years of their lives doing something they either didn't dig or doing something they did dig somewhat, but too much of it at the expense of other things in their life because the pursuit was an item or a dollar level, and maybe it was good for their family. I get it, but they really regret losing that time. I've had that said to me so many times, and maybe if I examine myself, there might be some of that too. I don't think so to a great extent, but I hear it over and over and over again.
My older daughter had a baby recently, and after some like fertility struggles and things, so she ended up having like really bad postpartum depression because she had like lost a baby and had this terrible delivery and all these problems. So she had really bad depression, and I finally got her to talk to someone, And she called me and told me, she's like, Mom, I didn't realize like how much like you worked. I worked a ton. A single mom. I worked like, 2-3 jobs, so that they could have a beautiful house or this or, everything that they needed. And she's like, I didn't realize like how, much that affected me, that you worked so much, and I wished you were home with me. And I was like, like it just, my heart, like I was like, I like thinking back, like, what could I have done to take, to change that?
Yeah.
That was tough. That was about, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Like,
but it's
that was
such a
tough.
balance, though, right? It's
I struggle with that every day.
It's a hard balance.
Oh yeah,
it's hard balance.
Like she never told me that, and I don't think she realized it either until she went to therapy. Well,
that's an amazing share. That's an amazing share right there.
Mm-hmm.
So having that awareness that she even felt like that without you even knowing on your pursuit to become better for them.
Right.
They don't think about that. They just think they don't want me there, or they're choosing to work instead of like play.
Right.
But they don't know what you're after. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, she understands that, like like she's older. She understands. Like, I know exactly why you did it.
But she appreciates.
She appreciates, but it's still, I'm like, man, like that. That's rough.
Yeah,
like,
Well, I mean,
so you pushed so hard to get away from, or to get like, I'm going to do more than my parents did for me. I'm going to,
I'm guilty
be
of that.
everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything for these kids. I'm going to do this and this. But then you're doing so much that you're not spending that quality, like that time that you talked about, and you can't get that time back. I mean, you can change it now, but...
Well, I also think, too, for some children, it ends up being a detriment because it can create softer people.
I agree.
And
That's true.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes too soft for the life they're moving into.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably why my kids are independent and hard workers and, can take care of themselves.
So there you go. So you need to use that as a little bit of a salve there.
Yeah, because I do see a lot of parents that are what I'll call helicopter parents. They're up their kids' ass all the time.
Oh yeah, hell no. Yeah.
But they think that's what they have to do, and it's like, well, okay, maybe. But you could be doing your kids a disservice, because if they can't do shit for themselves, they're going to expect the world to do it for them. Not just you as the parent, but when they get out into the world, because I deal with that when I've interviewed younger people, like they just expect that.
How old?
What do you mean?
I'd like to know these folks and how old they are.
In their 20s.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have some of my friends.
Trying to understand the generation.
Yeah, some of my friends
I'm 45.
Okay,
I'm
great.
old.
Yeah, some of my friends have done that with their kids.
Yeah.
The hovering.
Yeah.
And the not letting them experience any ups and downs or fail. I mean, you have to experience failure to get to success. Like,
yes, you have to let them fail. You can't step in.
And I've said, like, what are you going to do if you're not there to pick up the pieces?
Yeah.
Your kids are going to be floundering around like a fish on the ground.
Exactly right.
So
yes.
like, why wouldn't you want to empower them? You're like, that's not empowering, like hovering.
No.
Right? And protecting them from everything.
No, it's under the guise, though, for some that, as I was guilty of this a little bit, my kids were very young, you desperately want more for your, not everybody, but for me, desperately wanted more for them than I was given. And I didn't have a bad life. I did not have a bad childhood, but you always want more.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I conflated that from protecting them from pain, not letting them experience any kind of discomfort early on. And then after a while, I was like, I can't do this anymore. They're not going to be remotely ready for anything. Now, athletics helps to break a parent away from that bad beat. Once you get a child out into a team organized or something of an endeavor they can take ownership of, there's another dynamic there, I think, that will wake up a parent sometimes. I got to back off and let them do their thing.
As long as you're a parent not coaching from the sidelines, because that happens a lot of times too.
That happens too.
They won't let go.
100%.
But that's the worst.
But it's such a balance, because somehow we conflate their happiness with not feeling any discomfort when they're younger, and then that's more about our mental happiness than it really is about their personal happiness.
And feeling that discomfort builds character.
100%.
Well, it builds that emotional intelligence. You have to understand these lows, so you can be your authentic self, whatever that is.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong; it just is. But to have control over like this made me feel this kind of way.
Yeah.
And that's not your fault, but that's just how I am accepting it, and I got to move with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not away from it or deny it, because that really messes you up.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Oh, the kids can really get confused. I mean, I really don't think in my heart of hearts, although a kid may tell you different, I don't believe that children, once they start getting, they start knowing their spheres, knowing their little world, they really don't want everything done for them. They really don't. There may be some material things they get, the little bright, shiny things that make them happy, but in terms of like micromanaging every single move they make, I don't think any child really wants that.
No, it's the parents inflicting that upon them.
My response is, you have 2 legs and 2 arms, you can get it.
Exactly.
Like, that's like, I'm not going to get it for you. I'm not. You know how to use a microwave. Like, you know how to use the
Exactly.
stove. Like, you know how to do
Exactly.
the stuff. Like, I don't need to do it for you.
I had a friend who would cut their child's like meat, and she was like 15 years old and cutting cutting the meat and cutting the waffles and then taking it to her and putting it in front of her in front of the television, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like,
That is
honestly,
awesome.
No.
That is awesome.
It's like indentured servitude or
It was
something
like-
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, how is she going to make her food when she's in college or out of school or you're not here?
Yes.
Like, how is she going to take care of herself? She can't. She still can't.
And that's the problem. Parents get very, and to your point, like, I think they're trying to overparent now because they're trying to compensate for lack or whatever that is. But it's just like, kids need, because when I deal with like younger professionals that were raised by, I believe, those types of parents, they don't have a fucking clue how the world works. Like, they come out and they just think that the world should just owe them shit. I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Like, prove yourself.
Right.
Prove yourself, then you'll make money. Like, don't think you're entitled. Like, I've interviewed people. People have come in to interview for positions, like, in a bathrobe. A woman interviewed for our receptionist position on Zoom in a bathrobe.
Oh my God.
Another woman walked in flip-flops, leather leggings, and a turtleneck sweater in August, 90-degree heat. I'm like, what is happening? Like, they don't understand how the world works. Like, they're just taught that they're special. Like, everybody's special. You can be whatever you want.
But you are special.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are. Each one of us are special in our own unique way, and that's not a bad thing.
Okay. But I disagree. We can debate
I
this.
see that.
Because I'm talking about
definition.
I'm talking about special. Like, the world doesn't know you shit.
No, I didn't say that.
But kids are being
Maybe
taught
you're talking about
special.
unique instead of special.
Yeah, everybody's unique. I agree. Everybody's unique. Okay, but just because you exist, you can start the pot. That's fine.
Yeah, Amy is awesome at that, by the way.
Well, I think you're ready.
And you bet your
take my jacket off, roll my sleeves up.
And you bet your match over there.
Let's go.
I'm just hanging on, white knuckle style over here.
All I'm saying is, because
I know.
it's a problem. Like,
Yeah.
these
It
kids
is a problem.
they think that the world owes them something, and it's like, that's not how the world's going to come out and kick you in the nuts.
But they didn't get that way on their own.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But don't
Everybody gets a trophy generation. Like, when my son got his first second place trophy in baseball, that's the first loser. Like, that was my statement to him. I said, that is the first loser. That doesn't mean anything. That means they played better than you, or they have more talent than you. Those are 2 things you can change.
Right.
It's on you to work hard to beat them next time. But you don't get a trophy in life for participating. You get a trophy for succeeding. And they got the first place trophy. They succeeded. You got second place. Cool, but that's not the winner.
And I think
That's the
if
first
you
loser.
really, I think it's a great point. And I think if you unwind all of that, how that kind of happened, I think it did start with parents trying to provide the least amount of discomfort for little Johnny and little Rebecca.
Yes.
And so the second place should get something too. And then that conflated to, like, instead of a runners-up trophy, now you had a third place
And a fourth place.
And then fourth. And now all of a sudden, everybody gets to have the pizza. Everybody gets to go to the bowling, right?
Yes.
Everybody's included. Let's not hurt anybody. Let's not keep score. Let's not keep score next time. Let everybody just play.
Yeah, this is like a mental health issue, actually, is what it is. That's what you're kind of alluding to. Would you agree that there's like a mental health issue in there?
Meaning, extrapolate that more.
Well, think about it. Like, the parents want to have, like, ultimate control. Do we have control of anything in our lives? The answer is no. I don't care what you
I
think.
see. Your
Do
kid.
you think it's a controlling thing?
Your
Sure.
children's experiences.
The emotion.
Yes.
Because the parent is so
good.
because the parent is so
Fear-based thinking.
right. The parent's so uncomfortable.
Good
So uncomfortable.
point.
Right.
Yeah,
And
they're
then-
not comfortable with themselves. They
Right.
don't want their kids
Nope.
to be uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And
Nope.
most adults
Exactly.
aren't
Or
comfortable
we
with
have to
themselves.
show this face of everything is just so perfect. And it's like, that's not how the real
No, not at
world
all.
works. Have you looked around lately at all at anything?
Right.
Right?
No, right. Yeah, absolutely.
And everything. Why are we going, like,
Yeah.
you know,
I
People
agree.
are projecting their shit onto other people.
All
That's
the
the problem.
time.
I mean,
well, there's a personal responsibility thing that isn't being taken care of here. Think about it, right? So, like, if
we
you
could go
take
a whole bunch of paths. This conversation goes so many different
Yeah,
ways. I
well,
love
that's
it.
why we're here. That's why we're here.
Because I agree with you completely. Like I think the world is fucked up right now. Like
It's
everybody
always
gets
been this way.
but
It's just different.
It's way worse now. Like
what about the Reagan era?
I mean, I was a kid.
Right?
I
Right?
I lived through that.
See what I'm talking
I
about?
thought the 80s were awesome.
But I'm talking about now,
They were.
like everything's offensive to people, and it's like no. If you're offended, that's your
Oh
problem.
yes, we are
Right,
a
right.
highly offended group.
that's
this
your
last
problem,
decade
not
and a
mine.
half, very highly offended.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just like everything. It's like no, like
It's
just
an
get
emotional intelligence thing. It's
Yes,
not taking
100%.
personal
Correct.
responsibility.
Yes, I agree.
You know what I'm
Completely,
saying?
Completely
And
agree.
it's not even like being kind enough to hear the other person,
No.
even though some things are wild these days.
Yeah.
I love a good conspiracy and I'm all ears because
right on.
I want to understand
Right.
what the hell you think about stuff and all of it. You know, I
Yeah.
just find people so interesting, and
agree.
I don't like. That's the thing is like you said I was like sort of non-judgmental. I might poke light fun,
Sure.
just to see how like things react,
Yeah.
so I know what to do and what not to do.
Okay.
I'm just learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But people aren't aware of other people to even
No, people are egocentric.
learn or want to learn. Right.
No, they're too egocentric as humans.
Right, the ego.
I've said this many times.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast exists because number one, we don't talk to each other anymore,
Right.
And we don't. If we say we're interested in other people, like the average person, I'm very interested in people. Well, are you interested enough to sit down and have a conversation?
Right.
Well, no, I'll text them or I'll watch their FaceTime for it's real impersonal. This is proof that this kind of communication
Yeah.
is lacking and is good.
Right.
It's actually, if nothing else, it's proof of interest in other humans.
Right, and we are sort of I'm challenging you just
Sure.
to have some fun or whatever. I don't take offense
No, I
to
don't
like
either.
whatever.
He's pretty much unoffendable.
Yeah, I definitely am. You can't offend me. You can't offend me.
I'm very offendable.
Well,
You are not very
I will take
offendable.
note of that.
I
You
know,
are not,
right?
you
So
are not very
offendable.
offendable. I know you're undefendable.
no doubt.
I just don't give a shit. Like I've got that point in my life.
Me
like,
too.
I don't really
Amen.
give a fuck anymore.
When you go through whatever you've gone through in life,
Yeah.
whether, some struggles
Yeah.
or, peaks and valleys or
Yeah.
whatever, you get to the point where
Don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
The subtle
exactly.
art.
Yeah,
the subtle
it's the
art.
truth, but it's not even subtle. It's just
Yeah.
I've gotten to that point when you kind of when you understand yourself fully as a human, the light and the dark side. When you understand both those sides of yourself, you kind of become unbreakable, and that's what I feel like I've gotten to that point. I feel like I'm breakable. Like I'll deal with anything that comes my way. Like there's not a problem I can't solve. There's not a person I can't deal with. And if you don't like me, okay, cool, no problem. No skin off my back. Your problem, not mine.
Yeah, I mean, there's an old guy used to live down the street from me when I was a kid, so he must have been, oh my gosh. I mean, if he was still around today, he'd be well over 100 years old. But I remember he said something one time when I was delivering his paper. And he was like, I think I had just earned the Eagle Scout Award in Scouts, and I remember delivering a paper, and he's like grilling me on his front porch. And he said something to me, and he said, I never forget him saying this to me. He goes, listen, if they're not paying your way through life, their opinion really doesn't matter.
Right.
You can choose to take it and learn from it if it's valuable to you. But in reality, if they're not paying your way, your existence, it really doesn't matter. Always remember that, kid. And I was like, huh. But I mean, if you think about it, you unwind that. I mean, opinions matter from those you love because you're interested.
Yeah.
But in reality, someone's opinion of you, unless they're just paying your entire way through life, your pure existence is according to them, then really, what does it matter?
Yeah. I'll listen to someone's opinion. I'll be very kind and decent to everybody, but
It doesn't affect my state of happiness.
doesn't affect that. Doesn't affect my decision making.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it. Like, maybe I'll listen to it. Maybe you have a nugget of wisdom in there that I'll take. But for the most part, like, I'm going to make my decisions the way I make my decisions.
So let's talk a little bit about the delusion of happiness, or the happiness state that is being projected by social media. Primarily, I'm going to key on one particular platform, Instagrams, where a lot of the ads, I should say. I mean, I'm not talking about people exaggerating their photos and creating fake lives. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking about more the commerce end of it. There seems to be a lot of interesting advertisements. And of course, because we are in an age now where advertisements, for the most part, since basically the proliferation of social media, I'll say, are kind of the Wild West. There really aren't any kind of checks and balances about promises made to the public in advertisements. Whereas I would like to think that before the internet, or during the early years of the internet, you really couldn't exaggerate. There was and I'm not even saying regulation's great, but there were mechanisms in place that would check you if you were basically lying to the public. That's all gone right now. And I'm saying that when you scroll through this stuff, it can create an illusion that there's all these different avenues that'll give you immediate happiness through possessions, through things. It's very interesting landscape. Would you not agree?
Sure.
I bought a microwave spaghetti cooker, so I'm the advertiser's dream. I buy this because of Instagram. Yeah, I buy stupid shit there all the time.
Oh, he bought a treadmill desk as well, too.
I bought an exercise bike desk while I was at the gym on a bike watching TikTok. I'm like, this is a fucking brilliant idea. I'm definitely going to buy this.
Rocco, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you ever done a deprivation chamber? And how long do you think, if it was a 60-minute session, how long do you think that you could last?
Well, I meditate every day. I could last 60 minutes.
You could last 60 minutes?
I think so.
They're fantastic. I recommend this for
I've
you.
been wanting. Someone just asked me
I recommend
today.
total deprivation for you.
Okay.
Total.
Am I that off?
Darkness, no. Well, no, I think it's good for you, sir.
Thank you.
That's just my own, health kind of expertise in my assessment.
What would that do for me?
What would that do for you?
I'm just curious.
Hopefully, you turn your mind off.
Okay.
Maybe you fall asleep.
He can't turn his mind
well,
off.
no, I would. He might be able to if he meditates. He knows how to turn his mind off.
I do. Yes.
That's all that is. It's focusing on the breath, bringing you back to the breath.
Okay.
That's it. And then you see what happens from there, and usually, you fall asleep.
I'll stop buying shit on TikTok.
If there's not a video, it didn't happen. So if you do this, someone's got a video.
I've been wanting to do it. I just haven't had time.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's those float
You
jobs.
make time, though.
I know.
Yeah,
yes.
you just make time, though.
True. Yes.
But whatever.
No, I've been wanting to do one.
They're fantastic.
There's one in Greentree, I think, right near my
What
office.
is it?
Oh, cool.
I have no idea what that is.
So they come in all different forms. It's like a float tank, so it's full of salt. So you're buoyant. So you just float there, and there's usually a pillow or something that you can put your head on, because people do fall asleep, and then you're just in total deprivation. Or you can customize some of them so you can hear sound, or there's twinkle lights, so there's just something there,
I
and
feel
you're
like I
just
need that.
floating.
Yeah,
Everybody kind of needs these things to turn off.
Can I listen to Led Zeppelin while I do it?
You can actually, but
you're not depriving yourself.
I would kind of just I would do total. I'm serious, for 1 hour.
Yeah.
I feel like I need that. It would
It's
stop me
great
from
mindfulness, and, or you come up with ideas if you you go through meditations that way, where you kind of go in with an intention, maybe I'm feeling low because X, Y, and Z are happening, and then you just let it out into the ether. You meditate on it, and then maybe you come up with a solve.
So I think people distract themselves from, all you watch someone picking up their phone 55 times. I'm in there every morning looking at my Rude Elmo TikToks.
Wait,
For real.
Rude Elmo.
Rude Elmo.
Oh my God, it's hilarious.
Elmo.
Oh my gosh.
Elmo?
Now I'm fascinated.
If you've never seen these Elmo TikToks,
now I'm fascinated.
I send them to everybody.
I don't have TikTok.
It makes me when I'm in a bad mood or something, I just look up Elmo TikToks, and
Oh my God.
Elmo has relationship advice, and it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Speaking of happiness,
watched.
Elmo's always happy.
Right?
just lost 30
Not
minutes
this
of my
Elmo.
life tonight.
Oh my
I think I'll
god.
be looking at that tonight.
Rude
Oh
Elmo.
no! It's just look up Elmo TikToks. They're hilarious.
Oh my
the
God.
relationship advice he gives.
I'm going to do that.
I'm dying. Like I'm going to send you them all the time
Okay,
now on
rude
Messenger.
Elmo. I'm
It's
definitely
not
in
just
some rude
Elmo TikToks, but people, use the phone
Oh, it's not
as
called Rude Elmo?
no, it's just Elmo.
Elmo
I just
TikTok, okay.
Google Elmo TikToks.
And it'll come up immediately because
Okay.
it has like 4 million
You're
views
gonna
or whatever.
die. Like there's like hundreds of them.
Are they
Yeah.
memes or videos?
They're TikTok videos.
Of like Elmo
And
talking.
they're not getting sued by Sesame Street?
No, Elmo's a puppet and he's
Yeah.
giving advice.
That's
It's-
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's the voice. I'm like,
That's awesome.
Elmo's saying fuck.
Yes. Oh, that's
Elmo's-
great. That's
Elmo's like-
great.
This person probably makes like millions
There's a
of
lot-
dollars
there's-
for having this.
there's like a bunch of
Before
different-
Sesame Street,
100%.
Sesame Street sues the shit out of
Yeah, there's a bunch of different people who do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are like doing these puppets, but they're
Yeah.
just. It's the stuff you always like. You wish you could tell people to their face, but you can't. But Elmo's doing it, but it's funny because it's Elmo's voice.
Yeah, you could.
Just use Elmo to tell it.
Yeah.
Elmo's voice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could just send.
Well, that's
oh,
like-
yeah.
When I tell someone off next, I'm going to use Elmo's voice
Well,
and
that's
see if
like-
it's okay if
But
it
that's
works
like
out.
not a bad
that's in
idea.
psychology
Yeah.
or like psychotherapy. It's easier to deliver bad news with like a sock puppet because it like
Your relationship is a piece of shit,
Yeah.
by the way.
And that's kind of what
serious.
the last TikTok that I
I'm
watched, he was
serious.
telling someone that they were a piece of shit. It is the funniest. Like, maybe you'll think
Sometimes
it's
you just
funny.
gotta do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll think it's funny, maybe you won't. But I just,
I will check it out.
they're short,
definitely.
you know.
I'm gonna check it out, definitely.
I
I
die.
like TikTok. I have
Oh my
TikTok.
God.
I use TikTok.
How did we get
I buy
here?
things off.
Oh,
It was me
this
buying
is
things off TikTok,
fantastic.
and now we.
I know.
But no, but seriously, though, like distraction, people distract themselves from feeling, something uncomfortable. There's something uncomfortable is happening, so you distract yourself with a TikTok, or you.
People are distracted
you know,
all the time. Like
It's-
that's the problem.
I'm
Are we-
finding myself doing
world,
it.
Our world is made
Are
this
we
way.
okay?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this question: Are we distracted in searching on social media because it's kind of like we're looking for happiness or happy moments?
I'm distracting
To laugh?
myself. Like I started this new job, and we were talking about like. I can't even remember what we were talking about, but like I started this new job and I'm uncomfortable because I did something for 15 years. Now I'm doing something else. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm good at what I do, but all the steps that I need to do, I don't really know what I don't know
Yeah,
too.
okay.
So I'm kind of getting, nervous about it, and I don't think I like this, or and then I just realized like I don't freaking know what I'm doing. I need help. Like with the
Okay.
day-to-day,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
all the inputting and
Yeah.
this goes here and there and so on. And it was making me feel as if like I was not good at my job. But, I ended up having to
Yeah.
ask for help. I'm like, okay, I need some help. Once
Yeah.
I got the help, everything was fine. But in that period of time where I didn't have the help, I would be uncomfortable. And I'm like,
distract
fuck, am I going to get on my
yourself.
phone?
Yeah.
I'm going to look at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to start looking, and I
Yeah.
would stop, do something. I can't figure out what I'm doing. I would
Yeah.
take a break and look at Rude Elmo,
Yeah. No, listen,
So that's what I found myself doing, like distracting myself
It's a
over and
very-
over and over, which wasn't,
Yeah.
that's not good.
But isn't that society though? I mean, isn't that the bulk of society?
Well, I won't like if a client comes in to meet with me and they have their phone on the table, I won't take them seriously.
I know.
Like if you have your phone on the table, like you're not taking this meeting. Like you schedule a meeting with me. Like if you have your phone on the table, even if it's turned upside down, unless like I've had clients say, I'm waiting for my kid to call me.
Yeah.
Right.
No problem. But I just like my phone's always in my pocket. When I'm meeting
Right.
with the client, they have my attention for that hour, however long it is. I just have a hard time taking people seriously because if you can't remove that distraction long enough to have this 30 or 60-minute
Yeah.
meeting, this isn't that serious to you. Or you're not that. I'm not going to set up your business for you because I don't think you're ready. Because you can't undistract yourself. It's just we are a very distracted society, and it drives me crazy.
I wanted to have that conversation with someone recently, and I don't know how to like broach that subject, but I wanted to have that conversation. Like,
You can use this podcast.
am
as
I
a
boring?
reference.
Just
Just
take
do
that
me
part
a-
out. Yeah, you're welcome.
Am
You're welcome.
Yeah, am I boring or
It's
am
up to
I
you,
like
Eric.
are you not
I solve problems.
I know.
Yeah, there's no conversation if someone's checking their phone 55 times while you're with them. It's like
They're not engaged in the
Engaging,
conversation.
right. No,
That's the problem.
no.
And it's
I have had podcasts here, and only a handful, but over the course of 320 some shows, I've had a handful that I've had people, and it's always been a panel show. It's never been a one-on-one show. That'd be really insulting to me if it's a one-on-one show. If they get like this, when it's not their turn to talk, they'll grab their phone and they're going like this. Now, I wanted to say, do you realize this is a video show?
Right.
This is an audio only.
They were over
and
it.
needless to say, they have not come back, have not been invited back, these few.
Oh my God.
But good people, but just not, just, I mean, and I would think if you're on this is not something you do every day. He does a lot of them, but the point is, you don't generally do this every day. So if you're in here and there's like 8 cameras on you, and you know it's going out to the ether and the internet, and you chose to do it, you think you would not be in the breaks going like this.
It's like an awareness thing. Like, I don't think
I was just going to say that.
You're 100%
of themselves.
right.
But here's the thing. Did you know that, like, none of us are actually aware of ourselves because we cannot see ourselves from the outside in? Other people can tell us what the hell to do because you can see it like that. And I know you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, Rocco, were you ever in like a...
That's a great point.
Were you ever in a meeting with a client and you're presenting to a client and you like stop in your mind and think like, wait, I'm the person presenting this to, like, I become like extremely self-aware and you're like
out of body experience.
and almost like stop myself and like, wait a minute,
That's that flow state.
It's like you're
in a flow state.
It's so interesting. Like that actually
Does that happen to you?
Anytime I speak, I mean, I get very aware. Like when I've done like public speaking, like, you get very aware of where I am, and just it is that like flow,
It's
like
the
just
flow
like
state.
because
sports.
I've practiced it so much. It's just like when I did my TED talk, like I practiced that ad nauseum. I had an out of body experience when I stepped on
don't
stage.
Don't they make you like do it over and over again?
Well, I mean, you should. I mean, I didn't have to like practice in front of them.
Oh
like,
no!
It was just.
I thought they made you do it like.
You have to like submit your stuff, and they look at the top. But then I practiced it for like I had like a 6-month window from when they signed me on to when I did it.
Yep.
And I mean, but like I remember just listening to music and then walking out on stage, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And it was like an but it just like it all came out.
Yeah.
It was just an out of body experience.
That's called being prepared.
I mean, I played sports, right? So it's just like you're in that state where when you're prepared so much, it's second nature. Like any type of presentation I do to a client, like I had a big one in the summer, which I prepared so much for. It was a huge account, and then we just can't tell you what I said. But it went really well. It was just I was just so prepared that and I'm the type of person I don't script things. Like the TED Talk was the hardest thing for me to do because I had to script it. It was 12 minutes. I had 12 minutes. Every word mattered. I can get up and talk for 90 minutes on a stage off the cuff without writing anything, just knowing what I'm going to talk about. So that was harder for me. But I think when you prepare enough, you just get into that flow state, and it's an interesting experience to have. Like when you're in it.
You know what humans don't do that I think every human could benefit from? It's going to sound quirky, but this show requires me to edit, right? And we're on camera. I chose to do a video show. So what have I spent hundreds of hours of my life the past 4 years doing? Looking at myself and listening to myself, right? That has had an incredible impact on the way I have handled my business, my family, my marketing for my business, because you're forced to stare at yourself. That's not always a great thing.
Yes.
But, my dialect, how I speak, the pace in which I speak, how I make eye contact, all that stuff I had to refine. But I think that's healthy. I think to your point, you're right. We don't see ourselves
100%
as we maneuver through the day.
Yeah, you can't. How can you?
But even like from a visual standpoint, I think it would behoove folks to, no one's going to do this, but if there was a way that you could see little snippets of your life, a video of you interacting in different areas, you could learn from that.
I literally had this conversation before I left the office today with Emma, because the attorneys in my office, they started the competition between themselves putting out videos, like TikTok videos. And so they're all like Matt, Ben, and Emma are in this competition. Emma was in my office, and I was explaining to her, I said, you just got to get comfortable doing it. I said,
right.
For the simple fact is you'll learn how you speak. You'll watch yourself speak. You'll see how your words fluctuate, how your pitch and tone changes, how your facial expressions are. So you'll be more aware of how you're speaking to clients. She's a young lawyer. She's going to be fantastic. And
right.
So I literally had this discussion with her. I said, the more you do it, you'll never get fully comfortable doing it, but you'll be able to watch yourself, and you'll now be able to look at certain words you say and the way you say them, how the speed of your voice is, how to speak in a more persuasive way, or how to speak in a more energetic way. Like it'll just watch watching yourself.
You're
like that.
studying yourself.
Exactly. And you don't do that because you don't see
humans
yourself.
don't do that.
Exactly.
We're not in a position to do that,
No,
really.
we're not.
You know?
No,
But
absolutely
uniquely
not.
for this thing, I kind of had no choice.
Yeah. Right.
But man, it's like, whoa, you really get dialed into like weights and all kinds of stuff. You get dialed into like everything. The appearance is superficial, but it kind of isn't. It's part of your being.
Because that's what you see and that's what you present.
Correct.
And like that's
Correct.
super important because you were talking about the phone being on the table in that presentation.
Yeah.
You're constantly being judged, right? Even if someone says, "Nah, I'm not really judgmental."
You're
You're
judging.
definitely taking something in.
I was telling them when I got here, I was watching a video earlier today about like they were talking about law firms, and this one woman was talking about she worked with different types of like small, medium, and large law firms. She says lookism is a thing. She's like, you have to look a certain way, or they won't hire you. She's like, people say they don't judge a book by its cover, but
they totally do.
Everybody in every profession you're judged, you have to look a certain way.
Yeah, and Jim Rohn said it decades ago. He said it would be nice if humans would not judge other humans, right? It'd be a nicer world, right? But guess what? They do.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that as you try to make a good life for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. First
Well,
impressions
like you
matter.
can't exactly assign value like into things that you really can't change. Like think about it. Can you change your appearance too much? A little bit, but like not.
Yeah.
I think Madonna did.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
She's a little crusty about it, apparently.
That was rough.
Yeah.
But
that's
like,
a shame.
No one should ever tell you how you should or
Right.
shouldn't look.
Oh,
and
100%,
that's
100%.
also her
Exactly,
point.
yeah.
So like who gives a shit? She's going to be Madonna in everyone's eyes. It doesn't matter what the hell she does. You cannot age gracefully in Hollywood these days. I don't know. Maybe men can, women can. I don't know what that is, maybe. But like you can't control that. But our value is assigned in that sometimes.
Yeah. And well, we have any public person, especially an uber public person like her, has authenticity because of the body of work and her body, the body of the years that she's had. So to your point, 100%, she can alter little things and look weird. I mean, she's a chameleon. She always had different looks anyways.
Yeah.
But that authenticity of her body of work is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that's on a lesser extent, humans would, in my very humble opinion, we would be better served to try to understand, to embrace that authenticity, figure out what the hell it is, and then just not worry about the rest.
Right, that's what I meant by like everyone being special. We are our own authentic selves.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
I
uniqueness
agree
of
with
it.
that.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all
I
I was
agree with
saying.
that.
That unique, but I think, 100%.
Well, you don't get a job because you're special. Let's just start there.
Yes.
Okay.
Amen to
But I
that.
am special.
I believe it. I believe
You're
it.
special.
I'm learning
That's what
this.
I do, I
I'm
know.
learning.
Do you think there's a portion of our population who believes it's more important to project that they are happy and living a happy life
Yes.
than really examining whether they're actually happy?
Didn't
or
even
not?
have to get it out.
Wow.
Yes.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The projection of living a happy life.
Like what it looks like, do you mean?
Appearances are everything
Showing
for
other
people.
that I'm happy and I'm doing all these unique things and I have a smile on my face. That whole thing of projecting happiness.
If they didn't, they wouldn't be, people wouldn't be looking at these TikToks or looking at Instagram or Facebook or, that wouldn't be important to put your shit all over social media if people didn't think that or didn't want people to feel that.
I just don't believe a lot of the stuff. Like Rocco and I've had many conversations where where we differ is I'm a little more of a pessimist than him when I maneuver through the day.
Definitely.
I kind of believe that I'm going to be lied to. I expect
Like a skeptic.
What'd you call me?
Yeah, you're a skeptic.
I'm a
You're a
skeptic.
skeptic.
Yeah,
You're a
I don't
skeptic,
want to
yeah.
be this way, but I used to be. I used to take everybody at face value until I got burned so much that kind of shaded my.
Do you think I think I'm a realist. Do you think you're a realist? Like, I think I'm not a pessimist or an optimist. I'm a realist.
Yeah, I think I have, my brain operates too much. I think I am a skeptic. I think I'm looking to find out the angle because, unfortunately, that's just how I'm wired. I'm not saying it's good. I try to moderate it. It doesn't rule my life.
Do you think
but
you find this in other people because you're looking for it and then you label it
I'm not
as
sure,
whatever?
I'm not sure I always have people pegged right either.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm certainly not great at that, but I just feel like when I look into the ether now, and again, here's where maybe it's the age thing, because I got on the internet in 96 actually, started a business in end of 98, and did commerce on there, but it was very web oriented. Like I just saw the power of message boards and websites and commerce there. And then I realized that it was the easiest platform on the world to lie to other humans, because clients would lie once in a while, vendors, companies, shipping. It was just, nobody cared about lying because you didn't have to have that verbal human conversation anymore. Now you had this wall between people, and you could send a text, an email, later on video, but there was something between the humans which made it easier to lie. The consequences may have been the same ultimately, or maybe not, I don't know. But then I started to say, wow, it's just lying. It's just like, people are, wow. So then I started looking for areas that, and again, it's just me, that's all. So my point is, when I see things on the web now, I'm really suspect, and I take some time to examine before I really buy into that. That's probably okay.
Well, because anyone can have that influence, so anybody can label themselves as like an influencer these days. You can buy a blue check. Is this a thing?
Well, Twitter. They're talking about Twitter.
I don't do that.
I don't do Twitter.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So how do you again assign value, right? It's like the wild, wild west out there. And I see some of these fitness, because that's just the business that I'm in.
Yeah.
And it just, it makes me so sad, because all it is the image of, okay? And a lot of times it's doctored and it's not real. So if you met this person in person, they would look so different.
Yeah, it's kind of like online dating.
So we talked about dating and things like that, like COVID dating. We in our one show, and I've had a lot of friends who were on dating sites and things like that. And I had this one friend who told me recently that he was on this dating site, and someone I work with, and this girl shows up and she's 200 pounds heavier than her picture, And he was like, I'm just fucking sick of this. I'm just so, he teed off on her and was like, look, you're pretty. He threw money down and said, I'm out. But he said, you're pretty. I probably would have gone out with you if you would have had your real picture on there. Yeah. Why do people feel the need to present yourself with filters and, why?
I think it's a lack of self-confidence.
Yeah.
I think people are very insecure by nature, because again, I think as humans, you don't get secure in yourself until you work on yourself. Most people aren't willing to do the hard work.
True.
That is working on yourself, understanding your ugliness, understanding your monster inside, understanding all parts of you, and being able to really know who you are authentically.
Right,
I think when you get to that point, then it's I don't really give a shit.
Exactly.
You get very comfortable with who you are, and I'm going to put out what I put out, whether you like it or not. I don't really care. It's me. But I think a lot of people only show the good because they're so insecure that people will find out about the bad.
Well, that's the whole story of online dating, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, you always want to present as your best self when you're meeting someone. You always do, right? I tried to put on my best self meeting you guys today. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So this is my best self.
Just kidding.
You got right in throwing blows. I mean, I'm just kidding.
So my daughter tells this story.
Things.
My daughter would tell this story about how she would actually burp, fart, whatever she did. When she would get to know people, she would just act like herself. And I was like, seriously, you fart around people you're dating someone? She's like, it's false advertising if you don't. I'm gonna be who I am. If they think that I'm cool or funny or normal or real or whatever.
I mean, I say fuck in front of clients all the time. First meeting, I might drop the F-bomb, because that's who I am. I'm not going to change who I am. You came to me, you know who I am, you want to work with me, so if me saying F, I'm Italian and I'm animated, that's just who I am. So I'm not going to change who I am. I get to your point. You want to put on your best self. I'm not going to come there like an animal, but I am who I am, and not everybody has to like me, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not for everybody.
Yeah, but you're always going to sort of present your best when you first meet somebody.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
mean,
just how it is. But so
Sure.
Instagram is this on repeat. You know what I mean?
but I think,
Like, look at my hair now and now. Look at these eyebrows.
that's I mean, there is that part of Instagram, but also Instagram is, there's a lot of authentic people on there. I think,
Yeah, there
I
really
think
are. It's tough to find, though.
You have to be looking for it. Like, I think to your point, like, you're a skeptic, right? So you're skeptical of everything you see. I think, Eric. Like,
Well, I
the
mean,
majority of things.
I'm
you see.
increasingly that way because a couple of years ago I decided to go pure authenticity. Like
Yeah.
I just don't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone doesn't dig me, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I got enough people in my life that think I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's who I choose to be with, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So when I went there, I don't know if I became more skeptical or I don't know, but now it's just interesting because sadly now I'm comparing that mindset to everybody, and that's not fair for me to do that because I'm living a very unvarnished life. I know it's not for everybody, but I am kind of thinking, yeah, I used to try to fool people. And now I don't do that. Now it's real easy for me to criticize others because I can see it's real apparent. to me.
Yeah.
Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Well, like, you've just evolved to this position
I've
that you're
evolved.
in or
Yeah, I've
whatever.
evolved.
Yeah, right.
You can't help
Exactly.
it. You're
I've
just
evolved.
like, and again, like you can sort of like
Yeah.
assess people, right? And you've gathered like a good group of like by
Yeah.
your own
For
perspective,
sure,
right?
For sure.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just your own.
Yeah, and I think there is something to like. I think when you're in business, I believe that certainly there's decorum. I'm a big believer in civility and decorum and kindness, 100%. I wouldn't walk up to someone and start swearing in front of them. That's not who I am. But what I'm saying is, I like the niceties in life. I like the fact that when I go to see Rocco, he's in his suit. I like the fact that there's a professional demeanor there for business. I like the fact that we're having civil conversations, right? I don't need someone to pretend they're more civil than they are, or conversely, pretend that there's someone they're not less civil than they actually are. And I think that goes on a lot. I think that's a big problem. People pretending to be people that they're not, to the point where they're not good actors. It kind of like right in front of you.
I mean, I think
you
it's
can tell.
very easy to spot now.
For sure.
I think you can go on Instagram right now and I could scroll through my feed and I can spot the 10 people that are fake and the 10 people that are like. I like being a pretty good judge of character, and that's what I do for a living. I read people in every situation. So Instagram just becomes very apparent, like who's faking it and who's not. And if they need to fake it, like, okay, like that's them. Like I'm not going to judge somebody for that.
me.
It's just that's what if that makes them happy, or if that's what they need to do to be them, like cool. Like it doesn't impact me one way or the other.
Right.
But it's easy to spot, definitely.
And I guess that's where I feel like there's a lot of showing pretend happiness, like people pretending to be happy because they feel they need to show that to the world, and that's weird and kind of sad in a way that we feel the need, or we feel the compunction to do that. You know,
I wonder if it just comes from wanting the acceptance. Like that's kind of all we really want, is to kind
That's a good point.
of just be accepted by people. I mean, ultimately, right?
Well, that's a good point. I think that is a big piece of it. I think people do,
So
yearn for acceptance.
Yeah, they do wild shit to get there.
Yeah. I mean,
and they give things that like they think that other people want. What kind of messed up shit is that? Did you just hear what I said?
Yeah. But we've talked about it on the radio show all the time. Like, like people do things to be part of a group. They found their group. Like even in politics now, like they found a group of people that support their bullshit theory, and that's all they wanted was someone to accept them. And that's what people are looking for. So even with the happiness, I think that is part of it. I think it's a really good point, because people are looking, they think, well, people will accept me if I portray this lifestyle. Because those are the types of people they want to accept them. So they figured out, like, this is the demographic of people I want to be associated with. So I need to pretend I am that way for them to accept me. Because if I want to be associated with people that are wealthy or successful or drive Lamborghinis and I don't, I have to pretend I do, so they'll accept me, and then eventually I can get to that point. Like, I think a lot of people do that mental gymnastics. They think if I pretend it get into the sphere, then being around those people will help me create it. Which I don't blame that mind. It's a good mindset.
That's what people think like manifesting is, which is so
it's not
silly.
No, it's not.
It's like a frequency that you have to actually emit. It's your energy, and then it's the work that you put in, and it's all this other stuff. It's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go to this party and like just mingle it out.
But I do agree with being around the right people changes your state.
For sure.
Like my circle has changed completely.
100%.
And like every level in life you get to, your circle evolves, and it's you're around people that are doing bigger things.
Yeah,
and it's
you
just
can't omit the work. And that's my issue with that book, The Secret, and an Oprah, and all them in the movie. It's like, I don't say it's all bullshit, because you do want to put yourself in a position to make the changes to change your life. But when you just wish and pray without any action or work, that's a delusion that's being sold to people that I think is kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
My opinion. But
I think it's like Ed Mylett always talks about raising your temperature. Like, you want to be around people that raise your temperature. If you're always around people that are operating at 70 degrees, you're never going to operate more than 75 degrees.
Right.
But if you're a 70 degree and you operate around, or you're around people that are 100 degrees, you're eventually going to raise your temperature to that group. That's just nature's taking its course. And I've witnessed that in my own life. Like, once I eliminated certain people or certain relationships from my life that were kind of the drag, and put myself in position with more successful people, smarter people, it just made me elevate myself because I'm around those people and I'm learning from them and observing and pushing myself to be better.
You're like inspired by them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And it pushes you to be better, because if they can do it, why can't I?
Right.
I think that's part of what other people do, just sometimes pretend to create this air of influence. Like, they want to be the influencer.
Right.
And it's like, you're not. Like, just accept who you are.
Well, based off of looks, generally, this is how you get there, right? And then you're fed. You can be fed. You're just like a little puppet to sell whatever, or make money, or whatever you're doing out there. It's crazy. Like OnlyFans.
That word was coming out of my mouth now.
I'm with you.
Yes.
We've through the ether we've connected this evening.
Yes, those words were coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
The people that sell feet
I was thinking about doing it.
Listen, I've watched videos of people that make like ridiculous. I'm like, if I had good-looking feet, I'd probably consider doing that too.
I
like,
do.
Holy shit! Like,
there you go.
I watched a video of a woman in her 40s.
That's me.
In her 40s, she was making $40,000 a month selling feet pics.
That's actually what I was going to tell you about. That was my big idea.
40 grand.
I'm in the wrong. I have some decent looking feet too.
I watched that. I took off my shoes. I'm like, fuck, I can't do that.
Even
I have some cute feet.
Yeah, but even if they're hammered,
like little.
There's a market for that.
I have normal guy feet. They're not anything great. They're just normal feet. I'm flat-footed, so maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
So on my Instagram, this is where this came from. On my Instagram, I put up a post about foot health.
Okay.
You got to be shitting me.
I swear to God, you can go on there right now and see this.
Okay.
And I showed you an example of how I would spread my toes in the evening and put my little feet up and like watch some Fuck That's Delicious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So I got so many views off of that. I got so many DMs off of that. And I started asking people why. And it's just, I don't know. It was like, your feet look like a Ninja Turtles. I got that. And I was like, rad, you know?
Your feet look
swear
like
to God.
Ninja Turtles' feet.
Yeah, the way that they were spread, it only looked like I had like 3 feet. Like that. I swear to God. But like, it was so popular, and I was just like, oh my God, maybe I just
There's
like...
got to be a way to make money off of that.
There is.
There you go.
There is, but you have to have fans in order to be on the OnlyFans.
I think you just made some fans putting up a picture about foot health. Just
I
like,
know.
hey,
Could you
DM
do
all those people
it? Could
back
you do it
saying,
anonymously?
Well, I would have to. So I have tattoos. So I would have to put makeup on, and also I have like a little mark on my foot. It's adorable. So I would have to cover that up.
there's a market for it. People make ridiculous amounts of money on this. Like,
oh
it's
my goodness,
stupid money.
So
It's
people
so
like
dumb.
to look at other people's feet.
I guess I don't
well,
fucking
foot
know.
fetishes. Like, ew, but
I don't
that's
want to do
real.
that.
It's
I don't
so
want to do
real.
that. Like, I don't want to do
I
that.
really thought about it to fund my LLC. I swear, and I'm like, I am
LLCs
out.
don't cost that much
and
money.
I know, well, the stuff that I want.
I mean, we do LLCs. They don't cost that much money. You need an
No,
OnlyFans page for.
I know what you're talking about, like all the paperwork and stuff. But I'm talking about like the big,
The big
like
idea.
that. So like the equipment and the building.
Got
and
it.
the,
Okay. Well,
do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
and
throw them feet
I
pics up.
honestly, and I literally said to myself, I was like, Amy, you are being like way out of integrity with like your core values. I literally had this discussion. I was talking about this at work. And I said, you guys, hear me out. Here are my top 5 core values. And I was like listing all these.
Okay.
And I was like, would I be out of integrity? Like that's
Okay.
one of my core values. If I did this. And they're like, well, yeah, Amy, like.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
so.
pimped out your feet. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
But you can do it anonymously, right?
It's hard because you have to get fans to know about your OnlyFans page to then pay to be a member of your OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
Like if you ever go on Instagram and see all these fitness influencers, they'll have like a link like you can
Link
pay.
tree.
Yeah, like go to my subscription at OnlyFans for private content, and dudes will pay like $50 a fucking month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To look at a girl like in a bikini or in lingerie, like there's free shit out there if you're looking for that. Like why aren't you
Yeah.
going to pay $50? But
Because of who you are.
that's it. That's what
or
it
like
is.
what you look like. And I even.
Because you're real to them.
Right, and
That's what
I
it
even
is.
thought about doing. This is so bad, you guys.
It's
I
hysterical.
thought about so there's like this market, right, and it's
Okay.
like MILFs. I don't know how to start this.
The MILF
You
market.
started it. You just said
The
no.
MILF market.
So I was gonna like
Continue.
I was gonna lift weights.
Yeah.
In like shorts and
Okay.
maybe like a bra top or something like that, and that would be my OnlyFans. Nothing like egregious or anything
Sure.
like this, but like just do that. But also like, and here's the other thing. Here's what's genius about this is like collect those viewers, but also like teach them things. Like it would like sort of like reshape this idea of like OnlyFans, where it's like, no, Amy's actually like showing us proper form and explaining to us like what this should look like, you know,
Okay.
and
Did you
what
see?
it's good for.
Did you
But
watch
I would-
Shameless? Did you ever
No.
watch Shameless? Anybody? No. Oh, damn. Okay. Because there's a couple who own a bar, and the wife, she'll like dress topless, ironing.
Okay.
And
Well,
on Instagram, and that's
bad.
her, you know, and she gets paid, and people watch her like doing
Yeah.
housework and like scantily clothed
Well,
or
yeah, like
or
think
naked
but
or
that's like what you see at the gym anyway.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was like,
yes.
there's actually nothing different that I'm doing. I'm just collecting my own group of weird individuals that want to watch a 41 almost lady that like, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I could make like a bunch of capital to like fund this like big idea that I swear to
mean,
God. I don't know that I'll
why
do it.
not?
I feel like it's a little bit out of integrity based off of like what you have to do to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, but if you're just you flip the script, you're charging a subscription for
Like
private workouts. You know, that's it. You just happen to be dressed
like in a
scantily
shorts.
as a MILF.
Like yeah, but like yeah, like
I mean, that's what
if
it
that
is.
Tell it like
if
it
that was in
is.
your title, MILF.
Right.
I mean, you'd get
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
serious
hot gym MILF.
Muscle
And
MILF.
some serious
Yeah.
fans.
Instead of
Yeah.
muscle milk,
Oh my
muscle
God,
milk. There,
I
you're
could
Oh
welcome.
my God, that's
Sponsored?
amazing.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh my
Are
God.
you familiar with Paige Verbanik, I think her name is?
Paige Verbanik, no.
I might be butchering her name.
No.
She is a golfer.
Okay.
She's probably late 20s. And her Twitter or Instagram is in the tens, if not 20s or 30s of millions. Because guys just like to watch her swing a golf club.
yeah.
I mean, I understand that. I don't care about golf that much. But
I'm
I
afraid to
mean,
give you this page, pal, because you just
No,
might.
I don't. I'm terrible at golf. I just drink when I golf.
But
so.
her whole premise
Yeah.
is that she's not doing anything lewd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's scantily. No, she's not. I mean,
no, she just wears like skirts probably.
Skirt,
like golf
yeah,
Have
skirts.
imaginations. That's the whole
But
point.
everything's
Yeah.
extremely
That's the whole
tight.
point.
Yeah.
And it's like she's playing it for everything it's worth, of course. But
Listen, muscle milk.
but the idea is like she's talking talking about like her swing and all that stuff. So he's blending technique into the show.
Yeah, because I
Good
think there's
idea.
power in this OnlyFans.
There's
if
power
you can
of women
harness-
over men is exactly what it is.
Yeah, we couldn't create
100%.
OnlyFans. Like, no one's going to subscribe
Yeah,
to
that's what I'm
ours.
trying to say. So women have the
Right.
ability to realize that men at their lowest common denominator. It
Yeah.
comes down to that. I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, there's the power play. No doubt about it.
Yes.
I mean, I am not inclined to pay money to look at any woman.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not inclined to pay money to have sex with any woman. But a lot of men are.
Yeah.
And I get it. If that's your bag, go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that that's what's going on.
But women have the power on that platform. Men
Yes,
don't have the
100%.
power.
Right.
Like I could not start an OnlyFans.
It's like at the sex club. I mean, I've never been there, but I hear there's sex clubs where the women get in free, but the men have to,
Yes.
Pay.
Yeah.
Sexism. It's bullshit.
Well, it was like
God.
even on the most rudimentary level in the 80s when there was ladies' nights, I distinctly remember the women would get in for free, but the men had to pay.
It's fucking Vegas.
Yeah.
Anytime you go to Vegas, it's like, oh, dudes, you gotta buy a table. Girls, you can come in free. I'm like, what's this bullshit?
I mean, like that's there's no.
You guys get paid more than us.
That's bullshit. Let's not even go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're talking about happiness
No.
here.
Yeah, no, you're about to get into an unhappy conversation. Definitely, we don't get paid more.
So do we? How do we? I guess my thing is, children, right? Coming of age, getting cell phones, watching this stuff, like their world and their ideas of happiness, a lot of it's going to be derived on what they see virtually, right? And other people's examples of it's just so flippin' different.
Maybe if you have to resort to that,
Like,
right?
what do you mean?
Meaning, like, if you don't spend any time with your kids to take
Right.
them on experiences,
Right.
maybe they have to resort to that, and that's reality for some kids.
Yeah, it's on the parents. It's truly on
Oh
the
yeah,
parents.
yeah, for sure. But I mean,
So my daughter showed me some pictures of her girlfriends or other girls in high school who have like TikTok accounts or Instagram, and they're posting these like scantily clad videos of themselves. It's disturbing. Like, I mean, it looks like porn. Like,
I'll show my daughters.
how can like the parents, and I know some of
Yeah.
these parents too, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, what in the hell
Yeah.
are you thinking, or are you not thinking?
Or maybe they're not even aware that their kids
Yeah,
doing that.
that's
I
the other
remember
problem.
sneaking out of my parents and like wearing one thing and then changing into something different.
Me too.
Yeah, and then going to like Donzi's, the underage drink. Do you remember that place?
Donzi's.
And Chauncey's.
All of them.
Sunday night disco night at Chauncey's.
Chauncey's was where on the strip, and Chauncey's
on the
was
wharf.
in.
Yeah, it was like
and
the.
and Chauncey's
Station
was in
Square.
Station Square. Yeah.
Legendary.
Chauncey's, I remember.
Sunday
God,
night
I was
disco
in my
night.
early 20s.
Did you go?
Like-
I know you probably remember the VIP, right? Of
course.
Hampton VIP.
Of course.
Oh God! Wow, that was a long time ago.
Come on now.
Or you could drink when you were 17.
I found a lot of happiness in those places.
Yeah, it's early,
And the parking lots.
Early. Do you remember down there when they had coconuts? Do you remember coconuts?
yeah.
in
Most
the beach
definitely.
bar?
That was across
Oh
the
my
across the
God.
wharf from Donzi's.
They just put sand in the parking lot. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna make this a beach in Pittsburgh.
And there was a bar between it that was on the wharf that was in between the two that sat out there.
yeah, there
Like
was
a
there
long
was
bar.
Donzi's and there was something. Then it was Tequila Willie's.
Tequila Willie's.
I spent during law school. We would go there fucking like every Friday.
What was your favorite room?
We would go play pool.
Oh,
we would
whoops.
get there early and play pool. Yes. What were the rooms they had? I can't remember.
They had like a
That was
country.
Matrix had rooms.
I know, but didn't they also have
I
it?
don't
They
know.
just like they just changed the name of it.
Maybe they
I
did.
think they did because
I
someone
remember
got
Matrix
arrested.
did because I like
Yeah.
the heavy metal rock room there.
Okay, yeah.
That was my
the
thing, but-
salsa room.
I wasn't a salsa guy. I'm not
Okay.
a dancer.
Matrix.
Yeah.
This is like after my time.
Yeah, me too.
Hilarious.
I remember
We're
the
too
Metro.
I
old.
was in my 20s.
Metropole.
Metropole, yeah, Rosebud.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Right
Bar
before
Pittsburgh.
this did not make me happy. Right before the poll was getting ready to close, I got sold one of those like the membership things, like for a year. And I'm like, for $500 or something, you got this special thing. I'm like, okay, well, what the hell?
We're gonna take all your money now and close.
Well, pretty much. But
Yeah.
where I'm going with this was, it had been a couple of years since I had been in Metropole, and a couple of years since I had been upstairs in Metropole, the balcony.
Yeah.
So I came out, I remember, right? It was VIP, remember where the fuck it was. I climbed the stairs and I'm looking at all these couches, like, you know, they're not leather or vinyl, they're like material, right?
Yeah.
With all the public's been,
Yeah.
and I'm
Ew.
looking at these couches and the stains and
Ew.
the stench and everything was like sticky, and I'm like, I paid $500 to have access to this, and then they closed on me. I got suckered bad.
Yes, you did.
I remember
Yes,
how
you did.
foul it was toward the end. Really bad. That did not make me happy.
I could not imagine making you happy.
No.
So what makes you happy? Like what?
Like,
Since
what
we're
do you
talking
mean?
about happiness, like what makes you happy?
Yeah,
Like-
that's funny. I was in there using the facilities here during our break, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to ask them point blank, have they thought about what actually makes them happy? Have you thought about it? Do you think about it?
It depends on the day. Like I could walk outside and see this pretty tree and that made me happy, you know, or heard this bird, or, you know, I walk in and my dogs are like, you know, that makes me happy. But those are like, you know, fleeting moments of happiness. You know, my kids, seeing my granddaughter,
Yeah.
I like live for her. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
But you know,
For sure.
like the other side of happiness. I mean, I was reading something about happiness, and to be happy, you also have to accept being sad. You know, because there's a balance. You know, if you're trying to be happy all the time, you're chasing something, and you're trying to fulfill something, like fulfill a need. It's not really that's not real happiness. That you're, you know,
Well, happiness sits right next to sadness.
it's a masquerade. You know, you're
Or it's just like a little balancing. Because, like, that's when I need to snap myself out of something, like a funk, I will watch something hilarious, you
Yeah.
know? Or
Oh,
I have this, like, ritual.
Smart. That's
Elmo
smart.
TikTok.
Well,
It'll
yeah,
make you-
Elmo's
it'll
gonna
make
make
you,
it
it'll make
Yeah.
you laugh
To
every
the
time.
the reels.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so just understanding, like, seeing it, and then, like, moving, like, with it for a little bit, right? But, like, towards something different. Yeah.
Do you think people will actually take time to think about what they dig, what they like, what makes them happy, what puts them in a good state? Do you think we actually think about this stuff?
I think so.
Well, why do you do what you do then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about if you're doing something that makes you happy. If you're doing something that brings you that joy, which I think you were thinking about it, right? Like that's
While
how
you're doing it, maybe, but I mean, like,
But
if
before you engage in it, you got to think about why I'm engaging in this, right?
I would hope so. Like what we've talked about on this show a lot,
Yeah.
like on the broader concept of personal philosophy. Like, I don't really believe that most humans walking around can concisely put, even on a pad of paper in 2 paragraphs, what they actually believe. What do they stand for? I don't mean necessarily specifically politics or anything else, really, just a personal philosophy. Why do you get up in the morning, and what's your attitude as you maneuver through the day and interact with humans?
Yeah, like their personal values almost.
I don't think
Yeah.
the average person can even I'll go a step further. I'm not even sure the average person could articulate it, let alone write it out.
Right.
So I'll carry it further. Do you think enough of us spend time thinking about what we really dig? The reason I say that is Rocco knows my story. Like, I went to Mexico in the mid 90s and going through a death of my brother and new marriage and bad times, and I was pretty much drunk, sitting at a tiki bar. My wife went up to the room. I'm still sitting there. A guy from New York City happened to plop down with his wife, elderly, very successful jeweler, and just started a conversation with him. And through the conversation, he started giving me this, like, almost like a psychiatrist moment, you know, like, he goes, yeah, go home and, you know, find out what you really like. What do you like to do? And I had to sit there like an idiot, like, I don't even know what I dig. I mean, really dig. And then I thought, well, rock and roll, music, guitars. What'd you this?
Did you, like, go back to, like, when you were a kid
Kind of.
to get there?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I absolutely did. Like, what really turned me on? What activity or whatever, and it was music, and like, what were my happiest moments as a child? I was in my I was 30, and I think but until that man had the courage to ask a stranger through like an hour-long conversation, you know, what do you dig? What do you really love? Because he had said to me, my wife and I have always been in the jewelry business, and he had a massive Rolex on. I was having a conversation with him, and he's loved
Sick.
watches, loved watches. He could articulate about it. He was passionate about it. And I was like, wow, this guy is like, and he said to me, he goes, the closest to utopia on this earth, I believe, that you will find is when you marry your passion with your vocation. Because I'm not saying it happens for everybody, it happened for me. But he goes, go home and find out what you dig and dive into that.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I did. But up until that moment, I really could not even articulate what I really, truly loved. But after that, I spent a lot of time journaling, changing my journaling structure almost, and really concentrating on finding other things that are of interest to me. My reading took off. I started a business. My life just changed because of a conversation. And it did center around finding out what I really dig. Because I did not know. I did not know. That's as honest as I can tell you. I just did not. I mean, some things were cool in my life, and some things brought me a little bit of happiness, but what did I really dig? And I guess that's my question. Do people really understand the things that turn them on? I don't mean sexually, maybe not generally, but just what do you really like to do? Like giving your druthers on a Sunday afternoon, Bill, what would you rather do? He may say drinking. Okay, that's his thing. Maybe that's his hobby. I don't know. But softball, bowling, shooting, hunting, whatever. Crochet. Maybe he likes to crochet.
But are we talking about pastimes or vocations? They're two different things.
Don't even put the vocation into it. What do you love to do? I even hate to say spare time, because in this day and age, that's the weird definition.
Just
of
like
that.
with your time, like because time is super
important. If you had your druther where money isn't the issue,
right? You just give your time,
something that you love,
be of service,
whatever it is,
be of service,
whatever it is. For me, it was mute. The thing that gave me the most joy in my life. At that moment, all I could identify was my love of music, and usually guitar-driven rock and roll. And I'm thinking to myself, but am I really enjoying it? Hell, I don't even listen to the music I love much anymore. So that led to the guitar, and that's my unique, inconsequential story. What I'm saying is, until I was told to look within, and I'm just asking the question, do you think the average person sits and thinks about the things they really dig, or is life so busy with kids and work and family and all that stuff that we sometimes don't examine ourselves?
Here's the thing: is like I don't think you're asking the average person.
Yeah,
here.
you're asking the wrong people.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm not asking you. If
I would
you
say
have.
my answer would be yes. The average person does not think about that.
Do you think
the average people don't think about that?
No.
That's my answer.
No, they're
100%.
trying to get through their day.
Exactly. Average people do not think about that. That's why they're average.
That is so sad
But
to me,
but
though.
you're
But you
asking.
need
But
to have
you're
them.
asking the question like, do average people think about that? Your answer is in the question. Average people.
But does that mean that they're not happy?
Right. They may be happy, exactly, but
Yeah.
they may not be looking.
You can't determine.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's where you're bringing
right.
that's how
you're absolutely right.
Bringing the word fulfilled. Then, because
I know many people that are. I'm sorry, but many people that I would say. I don't want to say average. I hate to say that, but they just live like they're just good, being basic, and they don't want anything more. But they're very happy. They seem to be very happy. They don't want anything more. Like they're good. Doing that. 9 to 5, coming home, watching TV, going on one trip a year, and just going through day in and day out, and that they're okay with that. That's what they've chosen.
Oh yeah, and it isn't a value thing, but I just would say this sounds a little bit narcissistic, and I don't want it to sound that way. All I know is if I had not started to examine myself through journaling, writing, looking inward, and trying to figure out who the flip I am, because I'm still in search of that, but if I had not started doing that, these little successful moments in my life of finding things I dig and having fun with it, sometimes it's monetary involved, sometimes it's not. But if I had not done that, made a conscious effort to do that, my life would be shit. It would be. Because I would have settled, from my perspective, right? I would have settled for a life that I just know I would have been quite unremarkable. And if anything right now, I think my life has been, because of the people in it, been remarkable. But does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's passion too. Like there's passion, things that you're passionate about.
The things that I like.
Right.
Right. I mean, the things I dig.
And the average, like you said, the average person, are they really living a passionate life?
Right. No, they're not. And to your point, I think you were starting to say, like, we need average people. there's a bell curve in the population. There's
right, but
people,
their existence and the value that they bring, we can't devalue that.
exactly,
100%.
exactly.
You know what I
exactly
mean?
Right. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's, again, this is why I think everyone is unique and special.
Unique, yes.
Yeah.
Special.
So, but they,
I'm kidding. I have to jab back every once in a while.
Well,
but do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's not that we can, like, it's, and again, like, you're kind of like, I don't want to teeter on calling it this way.
it's not that I don't want to offend anybody.
Right,
I mean, I don't
but-
want to do that.
But, like, I mean,
Think about it this way: if everybody pursued their dreams and were entrepreneurs, who the fuck would do the work? Like, sometimes you need the people that are happy just being the worker bees.
Yeah.
And that's their fulfillment because, I run a business, right? All my people are amazing people. They're all entrepreneurs. I've been
Right.
very lucky. But eventually, as we grow, we will need people that are worker bees.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's their fulfillment. They
100%.
find that job that makes them happy. It may not be a passion. They make a good living. They're happy. They feel secure. That's
they're
their
like
happiness.
providing
Exactly.
and they're doing their thing.
Yes.
And, like,
Well-
that's still, like, that could be their happiness.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, for them, I hope it is.
Well, yeah.
I hope
but-
it is for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happiness is very subjective.
It is.
absolutely is.
Very.
Yes, 100%. Like, we all four of us at the table define happiness differently.
Right.
We all said it differently. We
Yeah.
all look at it differently. So I think it's something, to your point, the average person probably doesn't think that deeply about it because they don't need to.
Yeah.
They're not pursuing something more.
Yeah.
Do you think the
Yeah.
people who are really passionate, excitable, driven, that they're thinking more inwardly than the average person?
Because you're in that pursuit of constant self-discovery.
100%.
If you're a passionate person and a motivated person, you're constantly looking inward.
Yes.
Motivation comes from within, not external. And I think the average, I hate to say average, but the people that aren't concerned about that, they're good where they are. They don't need to do, like, I have close friends of mine that they haven't read a book since college, but they're good with that. They love their life. They're happy. They have kids. They have a job they like. It supports them. They can do what they want to do. They're not cut like me, and that's okay.
Well, that's their freedom.
exactly. That's
100%.
exactly right. Yeah,
So-
like, we're all cut differently.
Yeah.
And it's completely valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like it's hard. It's a hard conversation to have because when you use the word average, we're using it in the context that we're looking at the aggregate of people in terms
Yes.
of numerical people,
Yes.
right? But then that can be construed as like, well, you're putting a value judgment,
Right.
and we're not.
Yeah,
We're
no.
just looking at it in terms of trying to label numbers.
Yeah, the
Basically,
average
for this
number of the
question.
population.
Absolutely. I keep thinking about. I always go back to these Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and all this stuff. And Rohn used to say something that was rather harsh, but he didn't mean it that way. But he basically said this. He goes, if you don't want much, you don't need to become much.
Right.
Meaning that you don't have to pour a lot of self-education and self-development and schooling into yourself if your ambitions or desires are not really very lofty. And again, it's not a value thing, but I think that kind of speaks to it.
Yeah.
You can have a great life and do amazing things. You be a good member of the community and all this stuff, and live a very high quality, valuable life.
Yeah.
Without becoming much in terms of like economic wealth.
Yeah,
Right.
and in that sense, that is not necessarily the definition of wealth, right? Everybody's
Correct.
definition is different. So
Correct.
I look at it's not my place to judge other person's happiness or what they find fulfillment. I know what mine is, and everybody has their own definition. So, if they don't want to do because I have friends who have come to me that have had struggles in life. I'm like, well, you need to do the work. They don't want to do the work. It's like, okay, well, I can't. Here's your choices. You can accept where you are or change it. If you're not willing to change it, then you just accept it and move on. And I think a lot of people have just accepted life, accepted where they are, and they're okay with it. And that they found happiness in the contentment of where they are.
Yes.
And they're okay with that. And they just live life that way. And that's more power to them. That's not me. Like, I couldn't do that. Like, I would lose my mind. But I just look at life differently.
I just don't think we think enough anymore, especially when it comes to our own philosophy. I don't think it's very popular for humans to look inward.
Have you ever taken a class, and maybe this is like throughout your college years, maybe on like on personal development, or like establishing what your core values even are, what core values
That's not taught in college.
are. Do you know what I mean? Like, did you ever take a class like that?
I had a philosophy class in college.
Okay,
We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, that'll touch on it. But it wasn't until like later in my life when I was like in corporate America, when I was like in corporate America, and I went through something like that, right? It was like, a personal development thing.
Self-development, right.
But it was the most wonderful thing that I had ever gone through, and I needed it at that time. So badly. So it just like came to me to help
and
me.
you were receptive to it.
Yeah, because I thought, well, this wouldn't hurt me to even like just listen to, right?
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a skeptic too, so I'm like, oh, this is going to be like the 5-year plan. Do you know what I'm talking about? I hate that shit, assigning like a number to the goal and the finite of it. Like, you don't know what it's going to morph into. Just like go on the trip. But yeah, like it was establishing what core values even were based off of like certain words.
Yeah, for sure.
And then understanding what they meant.
But you were receptive to it. Think about how many people do get a little bit of an exposure to a self-development idea, or some words, or a speech, or a talk, or even a book. But it requires a little humility, and it requires a certain thing from you to buy in. And I think most humans don't want to go there.
Well, it's uncomfortable. I
It
was
is
like really uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
And I felt like a failure, but like in a way that like I had never felt before. Even like in sports, you kind of like lose and like you feel like a failure, and or like you are in sales and you don't get that. So this was different.
Sure.
So it takes like hitting some point in order for you to start to pay attention. So I was there, but it was right in front of me when I needed it.
100%.
Like how serendipitous is this, right? So I paid attention. I think we touched on this when I did our first podcast, is like things would come at me and I would like assess it and like really like breathe it in for a minute before I would like proceed.
It's a better way to live.
Yeah.
Well, but I was doing this at a very young age, through sports and having to make choices back then, or
and you
wherever.
probably, because of that skill, I'm going to guess you were more receptive to the self-development material when it was presented to you later in life.
Well, yeah, because I was like, well, this isn't new to me, so I guess I have to like pay attention to this shit now, and like let's go, let's get super uncomfortable, I guess. Like better have good hair or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? As like a saving grace or whatever, just like a nice outlook. But yeah, like it was tough. I did like the work. I still am working on it. I'm relatively young still, so I'm always just like learning.
You'll be working on it until hopefully until the day you die.
You're always working on it.
I'll be working on myself and trying to learn something. And
Yep.
I sat in a meeting once, probably about a year ago. I was, as a business banker, I was training some like 10 other people, and we had to go around the room, and everybody had to say like from 1 to 10, what's your experience level? Like, do you think you know everything, or do you think you don't know anything at all? Some people were saying 1, and with this super like pompous lady that, she was a 10.
Wow.
She knew everything.
Wow. Yeah.
She knew everything about business banking. She wasn't a business banker, but she knew everything.
Of course.
And then it came, time for me to talk, and I was like, I didn't really want to put a number to it, because I'm going to learn something new every single day.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'm going to learn something new every single day until I die.
It's attitudinal, for sure.
Right. The ego too, right?
Right.
The
Exactly.
ego wants to just keep you a little comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not what life is
I think
at all.
I think most people, and I would say this, I think most people walking around have a philosophy because they're operating life a certain way. They just can't articulate it or aren't aware of it. Because you're operating in life, you're doing
making choices.
You're making
Like
choices.
procedurally,
Procedurally, you're making choices in life to
Right.
do or not do certain things. So
Yeah.
there's a philosophy you're subconsciously following. You may not be able to articulate or even be aware that it is a philosophy, but everybody has one, or we'd have complete and utter anarchy if we didn't.
That's good.
Because rules and laws are in
rules.
place create philosophy, right? There's a system of laws put in place, which I'm tasked with enforcing as a lawyer.
Correct.
That are the guide rails of society. So we play within these bounds. That sets the boundaries of philosophy, and then people build within that, I think. They may not articulate it or be aware of it, but they're operating within these guideposts.
Yeah, like they can't define it
Right.
almost. They're just like, I just like to have fun.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that means their philosophy may be joy.
Right.
Joy may be leading the way, but they don't articulate. They just operate a certain way. If you observe people enough, if I watch a person enough, like even people I work with, that I've never asked them what they believe in or what their philosophy is, but I can tell you what each person in my office believes in and what their personal philosophy is just by the way they operate and carry themselves. And it's just, if you observe people enough, you'll be able to pick it out. They may not know it yet or articulate, but just because I'm 45 years old, I can look at someone in their 20s and say, I kind of understand your philosophy right now. Like you're learning about yourself, and you can watch somebody develop if you're observant, if you're willing to observe. A lot of people aren't willing to do that either. People aren't willing to observe themselves.
We can't observe ourselves.
Well, yes, very true. Very
You
true.
can carry a little video camera around all day, and at the end of the day, take it home and then watch yourself, and you can learn from that.
I know. I was thinking about doing that, a GoPro facing out and then also facing in, because some wild stuff happens to me outside of these
my
walls.
God.
Yeah, it's crazy as hell. Yeah.
Did y'all have a good time?
Yeah.
Always, yes, absolutely.
This means a lot to me. This was like
was
an
fun.
exceptionally great group and a
was
great
fun.
conversation. So I would like to keep this group together for the next
Yeah.
one. You all right with that?
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
You all
Yeah.
right with
What
that?
are we going to talk about?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
gonna get real. Also, I take
Stir the pot some more.
I do take suggestions too on show topics. By the way,
I sent you one time, remember?
which one was it?
I don't remember. I'll get back to you.
Okay, we'll do this again.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
This
Eric.
is great
Thank
time.
you.
This is great
Absolutely.
time well spent with great people. Friends, we're out.